If you are headed to Lower Manhattan this morning, be warned there's a building collapse on Reed Street. It's snarling up traffic. Building inspectors are on the scene. Fire crews are looking through the rubble, and much of the building's debris seems to have spilled onto the street. Here comes Roger Clark. He is there in what we think was a vacant or under construction building at the time it came down. Roger, good morning.
Yeah, Pat, that is what we're hearing right now. No reports of injuries. A vacant building. It's actually incredible that when it happened, it was so early, so perhaps nobody was on the street, no one in the building at the time. But once again, this was a construction site, a vacant building. No reports of injuries at this time, and it's just a mess down here. There are emergency crews everywhere for blocks and blocks and blocks. Fire department, Con Edison, police, you name it, they're here. And basically, once again, they are double checking that site to make sure that there is no one in there. That is what they're doing right now. Once again, it's kind of a mess down here. You're going to definitely want to watch it when you come down if you're heading down. Here's some of the street closings we have for you. Reed is closed between Broadway and Church, and actually this is 69 Reed right off of Church. So this is where that's really the kind of the center point of all this activity. Also, Chambers is closed between Broadway and West Broadway. Broadway is closed from Worth to Warren, and Church is closed from Warren to Worth. So if you were heading downtown, no doubt about it, you're definitely going to want to watch out for all these traffic closings. But once again, 69 Reed Street, construction site, vacant building. Right now, no injuries reported. Crews are double checking to make sure that there's nobody in there. And we'll keep you updated as we get more information from here at the scene. That's a story from downtown. I'm Roger Clark. Pat, let's head back to you in the studio.
All right, Roger, thank you. Let's hope the worst that comes of this is a traffic tie-up. Lower Manhattan, a building collapsed at about 6 o'clock this morning. Several streets are now closed, and a search through some of the rubble is still underway on Reed Street. New York's Roger Clark is there with the latest. Hello again, Roger.
Yeah, Pat, good morning. A real mess down here on Reed Street, about a half a block off of Church here. And this all kind of happened around 6:15. Vacant building. No reports of injuries right now, which is the good thing. Crews are doing searches to double check, though, in the construction. Well, it was a construction site at 69 Reed Street. Now, once again, this was according to sources tell New York One that this was a 5-story building that was being renovated, and literally the front of the building broke off and fell onto the street below. There's rubble all over the street in front of it. Right now, there is no disruption in any subway service down here, but bus service has been suspended in some areas. And let's check out some of the street closures that you'll face downtown, because there are a couple. Reed Street is closed between Broadway and Church. Chambers Street between Broadway and West Broadway. Broadway is closed between Worth and Warren, and Church closed Warren to Worth. But once again, this a vacant building under construction, 69 Reed Street. No reports of injuries at this time. We'll keep you updated as we get more details. That's a story from here downtown. I'm Roger Clark. Pat, let's head back to you in the studio.
Roger, has the pace of the work slowed down at all? Does it look like they've searched through what they have to search through?
They're still going at it, Pat. They're not taking any chances. They are, there's a ton of rescue crews down here, from the police to the fire department, other utilities, but they're not taking any chances. So they're still going at it pretty good.
Thanks, Roger. We'll come back to you in a bit. Emergency crews have been digging through rubble after a building collapse on Reed Street in Lower Manhattan. That building came down around 6:15 this morning. A building under renovation. The city believes that it was unoccupied at the time of the collapse. Subway service in the area has not been affected, but it's a traffic mess on the streets nearby. Several buses have been rerouted. Here's what's being affected. Reed Street closed between Broadway and Church. Chambers Street closed between Broadway and West Broadway. 3 lanes of Broadway and Church are closed from Worth to Warren. Witnesses say the sound of the collapse was startling.
I heard a huge rumble. I thought maybe some truck hit the building, but what I saw was like the building fell down.
It made me nervous. I was wondering what was going on. I didn't know what was going on, and I just heard a big loud boom come down, and smoke and everything, and everybody came from all over trying to see what happened.
Cars are buried under the rubble, though no injuries have been reported.
A vacant 5-story brick building collapses in Lower Manhattan. It happened around 6 o'clock this morning at 71 Reed Street between Broadway and Church. Department of Buildings inspectors had just visited the site this week and ordered the owner to shore up part of the structure. Emergency crews searched the area with a dog and say the property was indeed vacant. No injuries were reported.
We have engineers on site that we are working through to identify the reason for the collapse. The cause of the collapse is unknown at this time. However, we do know that this building was fragile and was slated for demolition.
It looks like a bomb hit Lower Manhattan. This building is in total collapse. There's debris everywhere, and the cleanup has begun.
The building pictured here before the collapse is part of an officially designated historic district in Tribeca and was constructed more than a century ago. It was protected by the Landmarks Commission. Investigators are trying to figure out what caused a building to come crashing down in Lower Manhattan just before the height of the morning rush. Our Roger Clark has more.
71 Reed Street, a vacant 5-story brick landmarked building from the 1800s. This is all that was left of it after the front of the structure collapsed at around 6:15 Thursday morning, just a couple of blocks from City Hall.
I thought maybe some truck hit the building, but what I saw was like the building fell down.
I just heard a big loud boom come down and smoke and everything, and everybody came from all over trying to see what happened.
The collapse occurred just before people in the neighborhood would have been on their way to work.
The material landed on the sidewalk as well as the street. We had preliminary information that there was no one at the site or in the area from an eyewitness when the structure collapsed.
Still, the fire department conducted a search of the rubble to make sure no one was inside.
We worked in conjunction with the PD with their rescue dogs for preliminary searches.
The good news is no one was injured. Everyone out and around the site is fine.
The buildings department was here on Tuesday, and they ordered the owner of the building to shore up the interior and exterior of the structure.
We do know that this building was fragile.
The Mondry noted that the building was next door to an active construction site.
We'll be doing interviews to understand from the workers on the job site to make sure that nothing was going on that shouldn't have been.
Back on April 10th, the city cited the property for having unrepaired cracks on its parapet and windowsills. And on Wednesday, less than a day before the collapse, violations were issued for loose bricks and cracks. Meanwhile, a neighboring landmark building is in danger of having to be demolished.
That building next door is 69. We'll make a determination if that building needs to be shored or must come down.
According to the Landmarks Preservation Commission, the owner of the buildings had planned to convert them into a hotel. A permit for a rooftop addition, new storefronts, and interior work was approved in December. In Manhattan, Roger Clark, New York 1.